إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Inshallah, we're going to continue where we were before Ramadan. We were doing it in the back, so this wasn't in front of everyone before, but this is where we're continuing. So inshallah, we're continuing with the wajibat or the furud of wudhû. So we finished where the author discussed some of the virtues of performing wudhû. And next the author mentions the obligatory parts of performing wudhû. So he says the obligatory parts of ablution or wudhû. He says ablution has certain components which, if not fulfilled according to the correct Islamic procedure, make one's ablution void. So here he's talking about the wajibat, or sometimes they're called the furud of wudhû. And this terminology of furud or wajib, it's different, or they use it to differentiate between the arkan or the shurut of wudhû, which according to the salaf or the earlier scholars of the ummah, wajib applied to all of them. So whether it was something that was part of the action or something outside of the action, and whether it was something that made the action valid or invalid by leaving it, and so on, all of these were called wajibat, and later on began to differentiate between something that was inside of the action, so they would call it a wajib or a rukn, and something outside of the action, and they would call it a shart or a wajib, depending on its level of obligation. So if it was something that needed to be present in order for the act to be valid, then during or inside of the action it would be considered a rukn, and outside it would be considered a shart. And if it wasn't needed for the act to be valid, then it would be considered a wajib. So here the author is discussing the obligations of wudhû. So he begins and he says the intentions or the niyyah. He says this is the desire to do an action and to please Allah by following His command. It is purely an act of the heart. For the tongue, verbal pronouncement and so on has nothing to do with it. To pronounce it is not part of the Islamic law. That the intention is obligatory is shown in the following. And he mentions the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, which was narrated by Umar radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى, or that indeed every action is only according to its intention, and indeed every person only receives that which he intends. And that hadith was narrated by Muslim or al-Bukhari and others. So this is what he uses to mention that the intention is something that's obligatory. And he makes note that saying the intention out loud isn't from the Sharia, and this is something that is likewise for every action that's done. To say the intention verbally, whether it's with wudhu or ghusl, or to perform a fard or nafil salat or anything else, is not necessary, and in fact it's against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So before performing an action, the person doesn't have to say, I intend to do such and such, whether it's wudhu or ghusl or any salat. They don't have to say, nawaitu an usalli kada wa kada. They don't have to do anything like this, and in fact they shouldn't do it because the Prophet ﷺ never did so, neither did any of the Sahaba from the Khulafa al-Rashideen or anyone after them, nor did the Tabi'een or Atba' al-Tabi'een or anyone else from them. So this is something that the author made note of due to the need to know so. Next he says, washing the face. This involves pouring or running water from the top of the forehead to the bottom of the jaws and from one ear to the other. So the author here defines what washing is, and he defines what the face is. And the basis for this is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, or, O you who believe, if you stand up to the salat or the prayer, then wash your faces. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned two things here. He mentioned the washing and He mentioned the face. So obviously we need to know, well, what is considered washing and what is considered the face, because these are the two aspects that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to do in this verse. So the author here defines washing as the pouring or the running of water, and he defines the face as being from the ear to the ear and from the top of the head or the the forehead, so at the hairline. For those of you who have a regular hair, you're not going bald, you haven't shaved it, you don't have an abnormally low hairline, something like that, then it would be from at the hairline to the chin. And this washing of the face is something that's obligatory, and it's obligatory or wajib according to consensus, or there's an ijma' that these actions are obligatory, or this action is obligatory to do. So no one has ever said that you can have a valid wudhu without washing your face. And in fact, many scholars from every madhab have narrated a consensus or mentioned that there's a consensus on this issue. And just to name a few, in the Hanafi madhab, Imam Badr al-Din al-Aini in his book Umdat al-Qari, in his sharh of Sahih al-Bukhari, as well as in the Shafi'i madhab, Imam al-Nawawi in his book al-Majmu', and Imam Abu Umar ibn Abd al-Barr in his book Tamheed, and Ibn Qudama and al-Mughni from the Hanabila, and so on. So every madhab has had scholars from amongst them saying that there's a consensus that these actions are, or this action, which specifically is the washing of the face, is obligatory. So now we're just going to discuss some of the issues related to the washing of the face. And again, like I said before, this used to be a lesson that was quite a small group and dedicated to going very deep into every topic. So it might be more than you're really desiring to listen to. So I don't blame any of you if you feel like you need to leave or anything like that. So when it comes to washing, the scholars of fiqh as well as the scholars of lugha or language have differed as to what is considered to be washing, or ghusl, what is considered ghusl. So they say that in order for something to be considered washing, there needs to be water and there needs to be a rubbing. So the hand has to actually be taken onto the face and needs to be rubbed. This is according to the Maliki madhab. According to the rest, so the Ahnaf, the Zahiriyya, they all say that this isn't necessary. The point is that water touches the area, and then they differ as to what is the amount that needs to be touching the person, or what is the amount of water that needs to be actually on that area, so on the face or the arms or so on. So some of them say that what is needed is it's actually that it beads up, or that it flows or drips off of the area, or that the condition for it to be considered washed is that there's actually a qatar, or that it drips off of the face or drips off of the arm. This is one condition. However, the strongest opinion, wallahu alam, is that all that is needed is that the water actually flows on the area. So if you take enough water, you don't need to rub your face, you don't need to have it actually dripping off of your face. What you need is enough water that it touches your face, it soaks the area, and it actually flows in some way. So whether you're using your shower and you let the water flow on your face, whether you're grabbing water from a container or from your sink or whatever it is and pushing it on your face and letting it flow, or rubbing, any of these are considered valid, and that's according to, like I said, the jumhur, or the vast majority of the scholars, with the exception of the Mâlikiyyah. So this is with regards to the actual washing. So the next issue that there's a lot of difference of opinion on is, well, what is actually the face? So the author took the opinion that it's from, like I said, the top of the forehead to the chin, and from the ear to the ear, and we'll go on and we'll discuss some of the differences of opinion on that. So Imâm Mâlik rahimahullah, his opinion was that the face was from the sideburn, or the end here of the beard, to the other end of the beard. So this is with regards to the width. This is the opinion of Imâm Mâlik rahimahullah. So for any of you that either have beards or whether you don't have a beard anyway, wherever the beard would be, this white area in between, according to Imâm Mâlik and some of the Mâlikiyyah after him, this isn't actually considered part of the face, and the person doesn't have to wash this area. So this is the first opinion. Another opinion is the Imam Abû Yûsuf, who we know is from the main companions of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. His opinion was that if a person has a beard, then this isn't considered part of the face. If a person doesn't have a beard, then they have to wash it. So here Imam Abu Yûsuf differentiated between these two conditions. So whether the person has a beard or not, which would also fall into women. So according to him, this part of the face would be, or this area would be part of the face if you don't have a beard, or if you're a woman. But if you're a man and you have a beard, then this would be considered, or wouldn't be considered, part of the face. So they would obligate it. Also, some of the Mâlikiyyah say that it's actually recommended to wash this area, but it's not obligatory. And the argument that they use is because if something is differed with regards to its obligation. So some are saying that it's obligatory, some are saying that it's not obligatory. At this point, to be safer, we might as well wash it. So we say that it's recommended to wash this area, but because it's we don't have any clear evidence in their opinion, then we don't wash the face, or we don't wash this area of the face. Another opinion is that which was the Imam Az-Zuhrî, rahimahullah, was from the Imams of the Tabi'een. His opinion was that the ears are actually included in the face. So when someone washes their face, and in Wudhû they actually have to wash their ears from the front and in the back, on the inside and everywhere else, that this is part of the face. And the last opinion is that this inside of the ear is part of the face and this part isn't. And that was the opinion of Imam Ash-Sha'bî, rahimahullah, was also from the Tabi'een. So all of this comes down to the linguistic meaning of face. So what is the word face? In Arabic it's wajh. And just like in English, if we say, well, what does a face mean? It's the thing that faces people when you're looking at them. So if you say, I face the person, that means you turned your face towards that person. Likewise in Arabic, you say, the wajh is that which muwajaha, or facing, takes place with. So those who say that, it's the whole face, it's then from here to here, it's like, because if you're looking at someone, you can see this whole area of their face. Others who said the ears, well, if you're looking at someone, you can see someone's ears as well. So that's considered part of the face that should be washed. And the ones who said that it's only on the inside, they say, well, if you're looking at someone, you can't see the back of the ears, so this isn't considered the face. Allahu Alam, according to the strongest opinion is that of the majority, who say that the face is from here to here and here to here. So ear to ear is where the width of the face is, because linguistically that is what the face, or the best definition linguistically is that is the face. And we know that the ears can't be included in it, because the Prophet ﷺ never washed his ears when he washed his face. He would wipe his ears later on when he wiped his head. So obviously, for us to define the face in a way that the Prophet ﷺ didn't define it is incorrect. And likewise, to say that this part isn't from the face if you have a beard, but if you don't, then it is. This is a differentiation without any evidence, and we know that any definition or anything that we give in the Sharia should have a clear evidence from the Quran or the Sunnah. And if not, then it should be based upon linguistics. So this is the strongest opinion, Wallahu Alam. The next issue is regarding the hair of the face. So the hair of the face, we can divide it into a number of parts. The first that we'll talk about is the beard. So what is to be done with the beard when you're washing your face? So according to the majority of the ulama, they divide the hair of the beard to two types. So they say the beard can either be a thick or a heavy beard, or it can be a thin or a light beard. So they say so this is what they divide it into, and then they differ as to what is considered thick and what is considered thin. Some say what is considered thick is anything that people consider thick, and what is considered thin is anything people consider thin. However, this can't be correct, because there's no way of specifying, well, what do people say? Because you might go from place to place, person to person, time to time. All of these things would differ with regards to what people think is correct. So this can't be correct. Another one, and Allahu Alam, this is the strongest way of defining it, is that whatever you would be able to see the skin underneath the beard while you're talking to someone in a normal distance, that would be considered a thin beard, and whatever would be, you wouldn't be able to see the skin underneath, then this would be considered a thick beard. And again, like I mentioned before, this used to be at the back, and it was a very close and tight circle. So if there's any questions at any time, just jump in, because that's how we used to do it. So inshallah, it shouldn't change here. Is there anything so far? No? Okay. Another opinion is that whatever is considered thick is that which water can easily reach underneath, and thin would be, or cannot easily reach underneath, and thin is whatever can easily have water reach it underneath. So you wouldn't need to take a ton of water and rub it in as over and over again in order for the water to reach the skin. And you'll see right away why I'm going into this differentiation. This differentiation between thick and thin hair, the reason for this is that there's a difference of opinion as to whether the skin has to be washed underneath the beard, because we've established already it's obligatory for you to wash your face, and the face is from the 4 points. We know this is the face. So the issue now is, what if you have a beard on your face? We know originally you have to wash the skin. So if you have a beard now, well, what do? Do you have to still wash the skin? Do you wash the beard instead? Do we do something else with this beard? This is where the scholars differed. So Imam al-Kasani, who's from the main imams of the Ahnaf, he said any hair on the face, whether it's the beard or not, the skin underneath it doesn't need to be washed anymore. So, and he's the only one who ever said this. So the reason I mention that is someone might say, well, you have hair on your face, you don't need to wash that area anymore. No one said this aside from Imam al-Kasani from the Ahnaf. Another opinion is that the skin remains obligatory to wash underneath the beard, regardless of how thick the beard is. This is the opinion of some of the Mâlikiyyah, also Imam al-Muzani and Abu Thawr, and some of the Hanabila. So they say that if the person has a beard, they still have to make sure that water reaches every area of skin underneath the beard, regardless of how thick or thin it is. So this is the opinion, or this is that opinion. The ones others and the rest say that there's a difference between thick and thin. So if the person has a thick beard, then they only need to wash the outward area of the beard. And if it's thin, then they need to wash the areas underneath. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he said that if the person has a thick beard, so meaning that you can't see the skin, all that's needed at that point is that you need to wipe a quarter of your beard. So it doesn't actually even need to be washed. You only need to wipe it, and it only needs to be wiped, or you only have to wipe a quarter of your beard. And the argument that they use is that if we're originally having to wash the face, now there's a cover on our face, essentially. So just like on our feet. If we have to wash our feet, and then you put a khuf on your foot, you don't have to wash your foot anymore. Obviously, if you wore it upon tahara, you wipe upon it now. So at this point now, this beard is the same thing as if you put something over your face, so we only wipe upon it. And the argument for the quarter, or that amount that we only wipe a quarter of it, is that they use a number of arguments. Some is that anything, as soon as we wipe, we've done what we need to do. Also, we know that the khuf, which we'll get into inshallah when we talk about the chapters of wiping upon the khuf or upon socks, any amount of wiping upon it is correct. We don't have to wipe the whole area. And likewise, when we wipe the head, there's narrations in which the Prophet ﷺ just wiped the front of his head and then continued on his imama or on his turban. So this can also be used by some to say that as long as you wipe just part of the beard or a quarter of the beard, that would be sufficient. Imam Abû Yûsuf rahimahullah, who we said was Imam Abu Hanifa's companion, he said that your wudhû would actually be correct even if no water even touched your beard. So if you have a beard and then you washed your forehead, your cheeks, your eyes, and nothing touched your beard, your wudhû would be correct. And his argument for this, rahimahullah, was that you have to wash your face. Now you can't wash your face without a big hardship because you have a beard there, so it falls off of you. This was his argument, rahimahullah. And there's a narration from Imam Ahmad that it's sunnah to wash the beard, but you don't have to. And then the last opinion, which is that of the rest of the Ahnaf, or some of the Ahnaf, the Shafi'i and the Hanabila, they say that it's obligatory to wash the outward area of the beard. So someone who has a beard like this, or thicker or thinner, they would have to just take water, wash the outward area of the beard. They don't have to worry about making sure that every area underneath of skin is touched by water. So this is the opinion of the majority, and Allahu A'lam that this is the stronger opinion. The argument that they use is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to wash our faces. He knew better than anyone that people have beards. The Prophet ﷺ had a beard, all of the Khulafa had beards, the Sahaba had beards, so on and so on. Men naturally have beards on their face, so for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mention or to command us to wash our faces with this knowledge and not mention anything in its place that we should do something else is evidence in and of itself that this washing would apply to our beards as well. And also they mention a hadith that we talked about a number of times before, in the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا مِنْكُمْ رَجُلٌ يُقَرِّبُ وُضُوءَهُ فَيَتَمَضْمَضُ وَيَسْتَنْشِقُ فَيَنْتَثِرُ إِلَّا خَرَّتْ خَطَايَا وَجْهَهُ وَفِيهِ وَخَيَاشِيمِهِ ثُمَّ إِذَا غَسَلَ وَجْهَهُ كَمَا أَمَرَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا خَرَّتْ خَطَايَا وَجْهَهُ فِي أَطْرَافِ لِحْيَتِهِ مَعَ الْمَاءِ. So this hadith that the Prophet ﷺ says, there is none of you who correctly does his wudhû, in that he rinses his mouth and his nose and then blows out the water from his nose, except that the sins flow out of his mouth and his nose, and that if one of you washes his face, and then to the point where the water, or that the sins will flow from his face, dripping with the water that is dripping off of his beard. So here the Prophet ﷺ is obviously mentioning that from the wudu is to wash the face, and that it would be to the point where the water was actually dripping off of the face. And this hadith, as we mentioned before, is narrated by Imâm Muslim in his Sahih. And is there any questions so far?
So yeah, the opinion that we're talking about now, do you have to wash the whole beard, you said?
The outward part of it.
The outward part.
Yeah.
How about the coloring of beard? If somebody has applied color to it,
Yeah.
still it's okay?
Yeah, it's okay, yeah. As long it doesn't, it won't affect the wudu. Yeah.
Okay, we said from the forehead to the jaw, from ear to ear.
Yeah.
Right? So with that, let's say you have a beard down to here.
Yeah.
Would you have to get water in every single piece of it? Not rubbing in, but would you have to
Like the
wipe the whole beard?
whole
or
outward
just
part?
the jawline?
We're going to get to that right away, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so this is with regards to the beard. So like we said, just to summarize, some differentiate between thick and thin. The Mâlikiyyah don't. So the Mâlikiyyah say everything has to be washed, whether it's thick or thin. The rest differentiate between thick and thin. Then they differ. Imam Abu Hanifa said all you have to do is wipe a quarter of it. Imam Abû Yûsuf said no water even has to touch it. Some said that it's Sunnah to wash it, and that was a narration from Imam Ahmad. And the rest said that it's obligatory to wash all of the outward area of the beard. Specifically, as Brother Ali mentioned, this is with regards to the part of the beard that's actually on your face. We'll get to the part if someone has a beard that's hanging off of their face. Inshallah, we'll get to that right away. So the next issue is hair other than the beard. So for example, we know some people have hair on their forehead, and their forehead can be quite thick. Also some parts like up, they might have hair on their cheeks that come up quite high. We know obviously if someone has hair up to here, this isn't part of the beard, because this is actually, it's belonging now to the, closer to the cheekbone, or even underneath the eye, whatever you want to define that as. Or if someone had hair here on their temples, we know that this hair on the temple, it's not part of the head, obviously, and it's not part of the beard. So what is the ruling on that hair?
And what is the beard exactly? From where to where, basically, is considered a beard?
The strongest opinion on what's considered a beard is considered from, if you feel here, there's the bone, or the top of the jawbone here. So starting there on both sides, up to the cheekbone, so like up to here, and then down to just before, so where your lower jaw meets your throat. So that's considered the beard. So anything higher isn't considered. Anything down like on your neck isn't considered. Anything that's connecting past here, that wouldn't be considered.
And taking off anything, like if you want to line it up or anything like that, is it considered like wrong to do it?
If it's beyond
Like,
the
if it's
area,
wrong, like,
if it's beyond the area, it's fine.
but if it's down,
If it's down, then you shouldn't.
you should.
Yeah. The vast majority of the scholars say that any other hair on the face is the same as the beard. So meaning if it's thick, you don't have to wash the inside area, and if it's thin, you would have to wash the area that's underneath. The only ones who differentiated between, or who said that hair other than the beard would have to be washed underneath, are the Shafi'iyya, and this was mentioned by Imam al-Nawawi. So he said any hair other than the beard, you would have to wash the skin to underneath it. And the reason for this is they state that the beard is something common. Pretty much every male grows hair in this area to different lengths and to different thicknesses. However, having thick hair on the forehead, thick hair under the high parts of your cheeks, thick hair on your temples, this is something that's more rare. Obviously people have it, but they say that, or they use a rule in fiqh, which is لا حكم للنادر, or that something that's very rare, we don't give it a ruling in the Sharia, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He would send down His rulings, they were based upon generally what people have. So if something is given that you should, wipe your hair, you wipe your head, then if someone has a hairline down to just before their forehead, does that mean they have to wipe all of that and they don't have to wash this? No, because that's not something that's common amongst human beings. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send down these rulings based upon what was common amongst humankind, and that's what we give our rulings to. So this is the opinion of the Shafi'iyya. Allahu a'lam, the stronger opinion is that of the majority. So if someone has hair anywhere on their face that's so thick that you can't see the skin underneath, then they don't have to wash the skin. So this is with regards to that issue. Next is what Brother Ali brought up, which is, they call it al-mustarsil min al-lihya, or that which, the part of the lihya, or part of the beard, which hangs down off of the face. So what is the ruling on washing this part of the beard? So there's three opinions on this issue. The first is that it's obligatory to wash the outward part of it. So if someone, we see some brothers that come in here, sometimes they have beards that are down to the middle of their chest. According to this opinion, they would need to wash the whole outward part of it. So just like the part that's stuck on their face, or that's at the level of their face, they would have to wash the whole area. So take water and make sure the whole outward part of their beard, front and back, was touched by water. And that's the opinion of the Mâlikiyyah and the Hanabila, and some of the Shafi'iyya, or the majority of the Shafi'iyya. So they say that the person in this state would have to wash all of that part of their beard. And what they argue for this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to wash our faces. The beard is part of the face, obviously, and so if part of it's hanging off, there's no reason for us to differentiate what hangs off of the face and what doesn't hang off of the face. And they also say that just as this part of your beard, which is on your cheeks, faces the people, and like this goes back to what we said about the definition of the wajh linguistically, which is that which faces the people, this part of the beard that's hanging down also faces the people. So it's directed towards them. So just for the same reason, we would have to wash that area. The second opinion is that it's sunnah to wash it. And this is the opinion of the Ahnaf and one of the two opinions of the Shafi'iyya. So they say, and their argument for this is the hadith that I just mentioned from the Prophet ﷺ in Sahih Muslim, in which he mentioned that the person's sins will flow off of their face with the water that's dripping off of their beard or their beards. So obviously this indicates that it would be washed, but it's not technically on the face. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to wash it, He didn't specify things that were hanging off of the face, and this hair isn't covering the skin of the face, which was obligatory by default to wash, so we can't obligate it. So they say, yes, we should wash it, but we can't obligate it because the evidence isn't strong enough for us to do so. And the third opinion is that it's not even legislated to wash, so the person shouldn't go out of their way to wash that part of their beard, and that's the opinion of Imam Ibn Hazm, rahimahullah. And his argument was that there's no clear evidence in which the Prophet ﷺ or any of the Sahaba went out of their way to wash parts of their beards that were hanging down off of their face. Likewise, the only reason we're washing our beards is because it's covering up the skin that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala originally obligated us or commanded us to wash. So if at this point now this hair is hanging off of our faces, it's not covering up anything that was originally obligatory upon us to wash. So why would we go out of our way to take water and put effort into washing this part of our faces or this hair that's hanging off of our faces? So these were the three opinions on this issue. And likewise, they make a qiyas. Ibn Hazm didn't make qiyas on this because he doesn't, for those of you who know about the Zahiri madhab, they don't make qiyas. But Ibn Abdul Barr al-Malik, he mentioned that we can also make qiyas between the wiping on the hair. So for example, if a brother or even more likely a sister has hair that's beyond their neck, when they wipe their head, do we then obligate that they have to wipe from the front of their head to the back of their head and then follow any hair that's hanging down on their back? Or do we say you wipe from the front of your head to the back and then you wipe from the back to the front, which is the Sunnah, and we don't really pay attention to any hair that's hanging down off of our heads because this isn't part of the head? And just like that, the beard that's hanging down, although it's coming from your face, it's not really part of your face. So that was the opinion of Abu Muhammad ibn Hazm and others who took that opinion. Beard that's hanging down, although it's coming from your face, it's not really part of your face. So that was the opinion of Abu Muhammad ibn Hazm and others who took that opinion.
The first opinion is just the outward part of the beard, the one that you have to wipe the whole thing, or is it
that you wash the whole thing? Yeah,
just the outward
you wash the outward part of it. Yeah. So if it's like, if it's very thick, they just have to make sure they wash the out. They don't have to make sure every part of every hair is washed. Yeah. Good. Oh. So these are the three opinions. Allahu A'lam, definitely the first one is quite weak, because to obligate something that the Prophet ﷺ didn't clearly command, despite we know that Sahaba had beards and they had long beards, and to obligate something that isn't clear like that isn't technically part of the face, it isn't covering part of your face, it's hanging down off of your face, then this would be something that would be difficult to obligate. Likewise, the second opinion, which is that it's recommended, the use of that hadith in which the water drips off of the beard, although this might look like it's strong evidence, if we look at it closer, if someone was to wash their face and they washed their forehead and their cheeks, and then they washed the part of the beard that was attached to their face, where is the water going to drip off of? It's going to drip off at the end of the beard, even if you didn't wash it. So even using that hadith to say that it's recommended to even do so, Allahu A'lam, that's a stretch, because just as with Ibn Abdul Barr mentioned that we don't say that someone has to wash the hair that's hanging off of their head, even though it's obligatory to wipe the hair that's hanging off of their head, even though it's obligatory to wipe your head. So why would we obligate the washing of the beard that's hanging down off of your face when we don't, when it's not really part of your face, it doesn't fall under that. So Allahu A'lam, the third opinion is the strongest. So meaning that the person shouldn't go out of their way to wash every bit of hair that's hanging down off of their face. What they should do is take water, wash the face and any hair that's covering directly on the skin of the face, and after that they fulfill everything that's upon them, and inshallah there would be nothing upon them after that. The next issue is the washing of the arms to the elbows. Should we continue or? Inshallah, we'll stop there for now then, and inshallah we'll continue this next Tuesday. We'll begin with the washing of the arms to the elbows, and what we'll talk about specifically on that is the obligation, the evidence for it, and whether the elbow itself is included in the arm because there's a dispute amongst the scholars on that issue. Wallahu a'lam.